Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us here during Global Learning Opportunities Week 2023 version here at UCLA. My name is Robert Rodriguez. I'm an International Programs Counselor for the UCLA International Education Office. I'm joined by Gina Peck from the Undocumented Student Program Attorney's Office, and also with Daisy Perez, the Undocumented Student Program Paralegal. So this webinar has been pre-recorded and will be available with captioning on our on-demand section of our Globe page, our YouTube Globe page. We have muted all participant audio during this presentation, and also while it's in showing, you will have access to type in your questions in the Q&A section of the YouTube channel. So please type each question only once, and questions are visible to participants once answered. And again, welcome to the Study Abroad for Undocumented Students GLOW session. Please welcome Gina Peck.
Hi, everyone. This is Gina. Before we get started, we did have a land acknowledgement on behalf of the International Education Office at UCLA. I'm acknowledging the Gabrielino and the Tobanga peoples here. I'm going to just have this here for a moment so that you can read it. And now we're going to move on to the agenda overview. In this session, we will be talking about who we are, why this particular session, and giving an overview of DACA from 2014 till today, things to consider while traveling on advanced parole and advanced parole itself, program opportunities within the International Education Office, and also funding, the next steps if you're interested in doing advanced parole, and resources for undocumented students at UCLA and through the UC. And then again, there will be a Q&A that will be available on the YouTube channel. So why this session? So study abroad may be available for documented students. There was a period of time where it was not available. At the moment, it is available, and we are talking specifically to students that have DACA and students that are eligible for advanced parole. We are going to talk a little bit about and demonstrate what this process entails. It is a legal process, so there are a couple of requirements that we need to look at. We're going to also outline travel policies that impact specifically to undocumented students, and we'll have some resources available for undocumented students, and give an overview of off-campus study options, and offer guidance on what steps to take next if you're interested. So we will be going over a little bit of history on DACA and study abroad here at UCLA. So beginning in the summer of 2015 to the fall of 2016, over 24 undocumented Bruins studied abroad and returned safely using advanced parole. So these students normally had DACA and they applied for advanced parole, which we'll be talking about a little bit later. Generally, there were some stressors and no guarantees that students that applied for advanced parole would be able to be admitted on return. But generally, all of our study abroad applicants who did use advanced parole are able to enter and are successful back on entering. Of course, things changed in 2017 to 2020 under the last administration. Normally, during this time, we were not encouraging students to use advanced paroles to leave for study abroad because of uncertainty with the DACA program. Since then, and also applications were not being processed during a certain point in the last administration. In this new administration, generally, the stance has become a little bit more clear, and students are able to apply for advanced parole at the moment. So this brings us to today. Under this new administration, generally they have been a little bit more friendly towards the DACA community for the most part, and applications have begun again. They are still accepting applications at the moment. There is a situation with Texas at the moment and federal legislation, which we'll talk about a little bit on the next slide, as far as DACA is concerned overall. So what's happening with DACA? So on July 16th of 2021, Judge Hannon out of Texas issued a decision declaring the 2012 DACA memo unlawful. This memo was the memo that was originally issued by President Obama, and it was declared unlawful. So what happened was that the initial DACA requests that were being processed were halted. However, advanced parole requests and renewals were continued. Then on August 24th of 2022, through formal rulemaking processes, a new DACA rule or final DACA rule of 2022 was issued. This was meant to replace the DACA memo, and it was supposed to be in place as of October 31st, 2022. However, a couple of days beforehand, on October 5th of 2022, the Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals that was looking at the legislation from the 2012 DACA memo found that it was unlawful. So they affirmed the original decision of Judge Hannon. However, they sent it back to the lower court and to Judge Hannon to evaluate whether the new rule of the 2022 final rule was lawful. And then as of yesterday, September 13th, 2023, Judge Hannon again found that this new rule, the 2022 final rule, was also unlawful. At this moment, we're expecting that this decision will also be appealed back to the Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals. As far as the program goes, they are still accepting renewals and advanced parole requests for the moment. They are not they're not processing initial DACA requests. They are still accepting them, but just not processing them. So they're just frozen. So while the initial DACA requests are frozen or not being processed, you can still apply for advanced parole. So what is advanced parole? It's basically permission that is given to you to leave the United States for temporary travel and return. For DACA, there are specific reasons or purposes for you to leave the United States and to re-enter, which are educational, humanitarian, and employment purposes only. And for the next part, I will be passing it on to Daisy.
Thank you, Gina. So I want to just backtrack a little. We usually give like a disclaimer at the start of presentation, so if it's okay, I'm just going to do that now before I go into this slide. So as usual, the presentation is for informational purposes only. We're not providing any legal advice here today. Every single case that we go through and every single case that a person has is different. People have different circumstances, so the process of advanced parole might look different for you from what we talk about today. So that's out of the way. I'm going to move into the considerations. Like Gina said, advanced parole is permission to temporarily leave the US and be able to re-enter lawfully. It is available for 3 qualifying reasons. The focus today is going to be on study abroad, so educational purposes. But if you think you're interested in advanced parole for one of the other qualifying reasons, or maybe another qualifying educational reason, I'd encourage you to schedule an intake with our office, and we'll talk a little later about how you can do that. So for advanced parole, depending on your immigration history or prior contact you might have had with law enforcement, you might have some additional risk factors to consider before you decide whether traveling with advanced parole is the right decision for you. So it's very, very important that you consult with an attorney to get individual legal advice on your case before you make that decision, and especially before you actually leave the US. And that is especially true if you have any of the special circumstances that we list here. So that includes a prior order of deportation or removal. So if you've been in immigration court before, or if your family has had a case in immigration court, if you have any kind of criminal convictions. So some convictions, even if they don't make you ineligible for DACA, can still affect your ability to re-enter the US. So it's important to talk about those with an attorney if that does apply to you. If you've had like an extensive immigration history, so if you have multiple entries into the US, especially multiple entries without inspection or without a visa, and also if you've ever engaged in or been accused of engaging in any kind of immigration-related fraud or misrepresentation to the government. So sometimes like minor things like mistakes on applications can be considered misrepresentation. Those are all things, again, if they apply to you, that's an extra reason that you'd want to be consulting with an attorney before you try to apply for advanced parole. Next slide. Thank you. Yeah, so another very important consideration actually that we want to stress is that simply applying for and being granted advanced parole, unfortunately, doesn't guarantee your ability to re-enter the US. The only people who have a guarantee of being able to re-enter the US are US citizens. So anyone who is not a US citizen, including people who have green cards, right, that are lawful permanent residents, are always going to be subject to inspection by Customs and Border Protection at the time that they're entering the US, whether that's at a port of entry like an airport or at a land border. So when you're making a decision of whether traveling with advanced parole is right for you, whether doing study abroad is right for you, it's important to consider how comfortable you are with that risk. Anecdotally, I will say that fortunately we haven't had issues with folks that have taken part in study abroad being able to return. But I know that the lack of guarantee rightfully might make others feel uncomfortable and not want to do it. So again, before you make a decision to travel on advanced parole, just be aware that as you're entering, if a border official who's inspecting you finds you to be inadmissible under immigration law, due to some of the other circumstances that we talked about, they can deny you entry. A border officer doesn't even necessarily have to have one of those reasons that we talked about. They can technically deny entry just on their own discretion. Even if you have an approved advanced parole request, technically if your DACA status is revoked for whatever reason while you're outside of the US, that can also affect your ability to return. And like Gina went over like a brief update about the current status of DACA. So there's obviously ongoing DACA litigation going on. And because of that, there is like an inherent additional risk to consider when traveling on DACA on advanced parole. If you're outside of the US when a negative decision comes in that affects your DACA status, that might affect your advanced parole and also your ability to return. So just given the general considerations and the risks here, again, just talk to an immigration attorney if it's something you're thinking of. These are all things that someone from our office or another qualified attorney can talk about with you, so that whether or not you decide to do advanced parole, you have a good understanding of where your case stands. Okay, pass it back over to Gina.
So given the current state of DACA and the risk involved, it is difficult for us to encourage the undocumented community to apply. It is a personal choice, and again, it should be made in consultation with an immigration attorney just to review and assess your specific situation, as every situation is a little bit different.
Now we will go over some refreshers from that you might be familiar with from the 101 GLOW session, and just like a quick review of the 101. So Number one, starting with the types of programs that are available. We have the immersion types, faculty-led, also internship and research programs. Just a few examples. Um, One of them is UCEP. The UCEP offers summer, fall, spring, and year-long options, and travel study, which the faculty-led program falls under, is a summer-only program. And then we also have the global internship program, which is also summer only, that offer internships that will also allow you to earn UC credit once completing the internship. And we also highlighted the course credit transfer process, the cost and funding opportunities are available, in which we will get into as we move along, and also the application process and timeline. So we have multiple types of programs. So we have 3 different online applications and different deadlines. So when you have a moment, please feel free to visit our website and start exploring these different topics. Financial aid and DACA. The UCLA Financial Aid Office, DACA students can carry over most of their UCLA scholarships and grants to a study abroad program. There are some exceptions, notably for summer programs. Student loan eligibility. The California Dream Loan, SB 1210, provides AB 540 students with the opportunity to take out student loans. The loans are capped at $4,000 per year per student at UCLA, to a maximum of $20,000 as an undergraduate student at UCLA. For more information, you may reach the UCLA Financial Aid Office. The UCLA Financial Aid Office, they do have a team of financial aid counselors for study abroad. So they have their own team, financial aid advisors for study abroad purposes. And throughout the year, they do offer webinars. They offer info sessions on financial aid specifically for study abroad. So please be on the lookout for any email invitations that you will get during the year. Financial aid and DACA. Students are eligible for UCEP and UCLA IO scholarships. Scholarships range from $1,000 to $6,500. You will find these scholarships listed on our website. So you will have all types of scholarships that will be available, unless they specifically state any U.S. citizenship or permanent residence requirements. It should be okay to apply. And because there are so many scholarships available, we have so many, we have multiple study abroad terms that are available. That also will mean that the deadlines for scholarships will also vary. So please make note of the scholarship deadlines, and please feel free to apply to as many as possible. To make study abroad more affordable, you can ask us about what programs may cost a little less than compared to others. For example, a summer term, which is the shortest term available, we will make a recommendation based off of that. And then think outside of Europe. We have so many different destinations around the world. We have Asia, Africa, Latin America. Like for example, we have programs in Argentina, Chile, Japan, Jordan, Thailand. We just have so many. But again, take some time to explore our website so you can explore all of the different program destinations that are available. Now, for far as financial obligations are concerned, for UCEP, there is no application fee, and that applies to all UCEP term options. But there will be a withdrawal deadline for each type of program. The deadline will vary depending on the program and term that you will apply for. So as long as you withdraw for whatever reason before the withdrawal deadline, that withdrawal can be processed without any financial obligations. Withdrawing after the withdrawal deadline, there will be a financial assessment as well. In addition to withdrawing, there may be some third-party withdrawal fees. Not all programs will have third-party withdrawal fees, but that's just something to keep in mind when contacting our office, that would be a great question to ask if there's any third-party withdrawal fees. Are there any out-of-pocket expenses before financial aid is dispersed? So that's another thing to think about. Some programs, not all, some programs may require a housing deposit. So again, that's just some programs, not all. Most will not have the requirement, but there's also something to keep in mind as a possibility. For UCLA Travel Study and the UCLA Global Relationship Program, each program will require a $300 non-refundable deposit. That deposit is not a fee that's added on, it's deducted from the overall cost of the program, and full fee commitment will be official by the April 1st. Please contact our respective program representatives about flexibility for undocumented students. For example, if you apply to a UCEP program, and let's say the application is submitted, for example, let's say today, here in September, and the deadline is not until March. And usually by the deadline, that's when we inform students of their financial aid, their study abroad application. To help the advanced parole process, we can process your application right away. We can expedite your application right away. That way, we can provide you with a document that confirms that you have applied and you have been accepted to the program, and you can use that letter of support for advanced parole purposes. When to apply? As early as nine months before the start of the program. Right now, our website should be updated with all current program options and deadlines. So right now, we have not opened registration just yet, that will happen in November. So right now you can browse and look at the different programs, take a look at what's available, make note of the deadlines that are there. Is it competitive? Generally, no. Most are first come, first served. What that means is if a program is capped to, let's say, 20 spots, then the first 20 complete applications will have an opportunity to secure a spot. After those spots are taken, then a waiting list will begin. For programs that are not capped, that means they're pretty much wide open. They can accommodate any number of applicants as long as your application is complete and by the required deadlines. And again, you can apply and register starting in November.
So what does this mean for your advanced parole timeline? Well, as of today, or when you're thinking about starting or applying for the study abroad programs, you should schedule a legal consult with the attorneys or with me at UCLA, the Undocumented Student Program, or at other centers, just to go over your background and see what you're actually eligible for. And then something that we always recommend is looking at applying or renewing your passport. At the moment, at some consulates, it is taking a while to get your passport or to have an appointment to renew your passport. As early as possible, you should reach out to the financial aid office for an EFAN estimate and also apply or register for your study abroad program. You should also notify your IEO advisor of your plan and process, and about 9 months before the start of your program, apply for advanced parole. So what are the requirements for advanced parole? Well, the first one would be the application for the travel document, which is the Form I-131, application fee of $575. This is not covered by financial aid, so it would be an out-of-pocket expense. The next thing we would need is a declaration of purpose or a declaration explaining why you want to do your study abroad program. And then if you're doing it as you're doing it under the study abroad program, you will also need the letter of acceptance from the study abroad program. And then we do ask for 2 passport size photos, a copy of your approval notice through DACA, a copy of your current work permit or your state issued ID. So if you don't have a current work permit or state issued ID, or if your work permit is going to expire, we also recommend renewing that as soon as possible. And then the last thing would be a valid passport. So the passport should be valid more than 6 months after the travel date. So for example, if you were leaving today, which is September 14th, your passport should be valid 6 months from today. And if it's not, you are going to need to renew your passport. So what to expect after you apply. So after you apply, and let's say that your advanced parole application is granted, you will receive the form I-512L, which looks as it does on the screen. On this form, it does tell you the dates that you can travel and also the countries that you can travel to. So you must travel, and you can only travel on the dates that are listed on the form, and then only to the countries the country or the countries that are indicated on the form. So for example, if your travel dates are September 14th to December 15th, you're only allowed to travel within that time frame. And if you're only allowed, or if it only says that you're allowed to go to Mexico, you can only go to Mexico. You can't go to Brazil or use it for another country. That would be a separate application. And then upon coming back, you're subjected to secondary inspection from Border Patrol officers. So prior to that date, normally within our center, we do have a pre-departure and post-departure meeting where we go over a little bit of the questions and things that you might be asked when coming back in. And then I'll pass it over to Davey.
Oh, thanks, Gina. So for resources, we have links here to both the UC Immigrant Legal Services Center page and also the UCLA Undocumented Student Program page. So UC Immigrant Legal Services Center, or UCM for short, provides free immigration legal services to undocumented students and undocumented immediate family members of UC students. Those services include initial consultations, DACA renewals, advanced parole, and more. So the link that you see there will take you to the UCM website and specifically to a page that lists campus-specific resources, since we are available at all UC campuses, with the exception of Berkeley. And then of course there's UCLA's USP there. USP is available for additional support aside from legal support. So they provide information and guidance to undocumented students, guidance regarding academics, funding, research opportunities. They also host events throughout the year that, you know, definitely should take part of if you can.
And here we have a few domestic alternatives. The first option, which is the UCLA Travel Study Program in New York. This is the only option on this list that's managed by our office. The travel study, excuse me, the travel study program here is a faculty-led program. So that means a UCLA professor will be traveling with the group, which is the case with all travel study programs. This is specifically for sociology coursework. So if you're a sociology major, this might be a great program for you because the sociology coursework will obviously satisfy major requirements. And then we have the next three programs listed there. We have the UC Davis program that focus on public policy and internship experiences in our state's capital. Then we have the UC DC program that also offers internship opportunity as its cornerstone in our nation's capital. Then we have a research and fieldwork opportunity as well. So you can learn more about these three options listed under UCLA Travel Study by clicking on or visiting the links mentioned there. You can learn about the application process, the types of internships that may be available, what the application process will consist of, and so on. So again, these are some domestic alternatives that are available.
And if you're interested in a free legal screening and consultation, you can schedule an appointment with me or Daisy at the link that is on the slide. And we do take different intakes on different days, so you can see whichever one fits into your schedule.
For any questions about the study abroad options, application process, or any questions about study abroad, feel free to connect with us. You see our office email address there, our office phone line, our social media platforms. We have also virtual advising, which is basically on the spot advising. It's like like a Zoom session where you can just jump in right away and speak with a study abroad front desk coordinator. They can help you with any questions and also schedule appointments with a study abroad advisor. That pretty much concludes this presentation. We thank you all for joining us. We look forward to hearing from you, and we look forward to helping you as best as we can. And again, feel free to connect with us anytime any questions come up. Thank you, and enjoy the rest of your day.